Thank you, Walter. Good evening. And congratulations to my fellow graduates. Thank you to the Gordon-Conwell faculty. And I want to say a special thanks to all the family members here who have put up with us over these last few years. We really appreciate you. So I would like to ask a very simple question, and it's this: why was all this worth it? And I'm going to actually come at it in a very personal way. Why was it worth it for me to earn a Doctor of Ministry at Gordon-Conwell? Why was it worth 4 years of my life? The hardships to my family, the sacrifices of my church family, countless hours sitting in traffic on I-95 between North Jersey and South Hamilton, and a whole lot of money. Why was it worth it? And there better be a good answer to that question. In 2 Timothy 1:6, Paul gives this advice to his young protege. He says, "Fan into flame the gift of God which is in you." Timothy, you need to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you. In my backyard in New Jersey, we have a little fire pit, and I love it. I love splitting firewood. I love building fires. I think it's my Norwegian heritage, probably. I love sitting around the fire pit with friends and family and roasting marshmallows. At Christmas, my kids gave me a grate that gets laid over the top of the fire pit that you can cook food on. We do that, so I just love it. But I have this strange habit. The next morning, I always get up about 5:30, and I get my cup of coffee, and I open up the back sliding glass door, and I go out to the fire pit, and I take a stick, and I kind of poke around in the ashes. Anybody else do this, or is it just me? And some mornings, it's just gray and cold, and I just go about my day. But on some mornings, as I poke around in the ashes, deep down in there, I see a little glowing orange. And then it's game on. I take some dry grass, and I lay it on top of that, and I take some little sticks and build it on top of that, and then I get down real low and just, not too hard, but just a steady, until I see a little tongue of fire leap up and grab hold of that dry grass. And then I carefully put a few more sticks on, and at the right time I put some small logs on, and pretty soon I've got this roaring fire at 5:45 in the morning for really no reason, except that to me it is so satisfying and so beautiful to take something that's almost died out and fan it into flame. And that's what Paul exhorts Timothy to do. Timothy, no one else will do this for you. You need to fan into flame the gift of God that is in you. Because Paul knew that there is a danger for every pastor, and it's this: if we're not careful, as the years go by, our God-given gifts will start to cool off. About 5 years ago, I sensed that cooling starting in my own life. I had been pastoring the same church for over 20 years. Things were going well, but I started to feel like pastoral ministry was becoming a little too comfortable and a little too familiar. Kind of like a high school teacher who's been teaching the same course year after year. I was tempted to stop working so hard and just start using my old stuff a lot. I realized that if I wanted to, I could have kind of coasted for the next 10 to 12 years right into retirement. And that's when I knew it was time. I looked at a few doctoral programs. I selected Gordon-Conwell, and I started to realize really early on this was going to be good. I was forced to read more widely and deeply than I ever would have on my own. The 3 two-week in-person residencies in South Hamilton were so enriching. The classroom interaction, learning from the mentors, getting to know my fellow students. It was so cool to go to lunch with a military chaplain from Texas, an Irish missionary to Jordan, and a Haitian-American pastor sitting around the same lunch table here on campus. It was so much fun to go to a Red Sox game, against my better judgment, and to go to a trivia night at a local brewery with pastors from Austin and Boston and Atlanta and Dallas. These are friendships that I hope I can continue for the rest of my life. And the thesis project was an absolute beast. I hated it, but I loved it. because it stretched me in all the best kinds of ways. And because my mentor loved me enough to hold me to a high standard, I now have the makings of a future book, and I have a tool that I plan to continue developing and using throughout my ministry. All that to say, 4 years later, I can say that the gifts of God in me have again become a roaring, crackling fire. At least I think so. I think if you were to ask my wife, if you were to ask my congregation, I hope that they would tell you that I am more passionate, more reflective, more biblically robust in my thinking, more creative in my leadership than I've ever been before. And so, back to the original question, why was this worth it? Here's my answer. This whole experience, in a way that I don't think or know that anything else could have done as much, has fanned into flame the gift of God that is in me. And that flame is warming my heart, and it's warming the hearts of the people that I'm privileged to lead. And for that, I am truly thankful. Thank you.